Welcome to my weekly self-important Magic the Gathering show. This one is the last pickup week for the 32-week challenge. These are the last of the decks that I had prepared. Although technically this one is a bonus one. Some weeks ago, Maldhound, Maldhound, if you ever want to check out his content, roasted a deck where someone made an Atraxa deck made like based around this card, the fishing pole. It's a 1-mana equipment that says equipped creature has 1 tap fishing pole. 1 tap, also tap fishing pole, put a bait counter on fishing pole. Well, that's very interesting. And also probably changes how I'm going to, what's in this deck. I really should read cards, but whenever equipped creature becomes untapped, remove the bait counter from this equipment. If you do, create a 1/1 blue fish creature token. Boy, what a pile of garbage. So, their deck used Atraxa, which I can't show you because that has black in the casting cost and not red. But I decided I wanted the Gay Kings, Kynaios and Tiro of Meletis. I just gotta go down to a section. Or maybe it doesn't matter. Nope, you do that. You do that. See, so, because I have a lot of things that untap themselves. That's funny. I'll read what these do in a minute. Really? Okay, some of these things are just in here for their names. And then I also have... Okay, those do that. I'm sorry, I'm just... Okay, never mind. I thought I put in some weird stuff. Well, not some weird stuff, but some stuff in here that like would just untap the thing that has the fishing pole, which I do. I have 2 things that I guess I don't need in this deck, and that's the Morphling that can untap themselves. And this Soliton. I guess that does make them superior fishermen because you get the fish right away. But the fishing pole, wherever, yeah, doesn't untap, so you can't, maybe you can, no idea, doesn't matter. So, Kynaios and Tiro of Meletis, their ability doesn't matter, and they might never get cast. At the beginning of your end step, draw a card. That's like the only reason to play them. Each player may put a land card from their hand onto the battlefield, then each opponent who didn't also draws a card. The reason why I went with this instead of Atraxa, Atraxa is it was the Atraxa that proliferates, so you can put more counters on the fishing pole to do more fishing in 1 turn. But honestly, I don't know, that high-speed fishing just didn't really appeal to me, even though I tried to do it myself, but then yeah. I'll explain every card when we get to it. Oh no, there we go. I have this. So we have Freed from the Real, but that's actually more of a joke than anything else. If I really wanted to do fishing, more fishing per turn in this deck, I would honestly would have put in things that that would have to untap the fishing pole itself, or put in Proliferate, which I didn't do. So we have our Gay Kings, and they've gone fishing. So the next section is called Bait and Tackle. I'm going to see if I remember every section before I go to the next section. So Bubble Snare. You know, so you can catch fish. And this, I think you can argue that it looks like this person's going fishing and kind of caught something bigger than they wanted. It costs 1 blue, and you enchant creature, and an enchanted creature doesn't untap during their controller's untap step. But if you pay an additional 2 and a blue, you can tap the creature right away. But it's more of a flavor thing. That's why Freed from the Real, it says R-E-A-L, but also you could say Freed from the Real, R-E-E-L, ha ha ha, fishing pun. But if we did have Proliferate, pardon me, although I think you can technically still do it, because it doesn't say untap the fishing pole, or that the fishing pole has to be untapped to put the bait counter on it. We'll read it again when we get to it. Yeah, so Freed from the Real, you can tap and untap a creature. That would be a great way to get more fish if you had more bait counters. But then we also have Lure, you know, because it's a thing that you put on your fishing line to get the fish to come to bite, in addition to the bait. This just says all creatures able to block enchanted creature do so. Then we have Pimin's Aura. Not really a fishing pun, but it's another way to untap enchanted creatures so you can get your fish right away. Troll. That's what this person's doing with the net. Reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal 3 non-land cards. Put the non-land cards revealed this way into your hand, and the rest in the bottom of your library in any order. So it's a weird draw spell that gets you. It's a 5-mana draw spell that makes sure you get not lands. And then let's see. This section is called Catch Fish. So I think everything in this section. Pay 1 life, create a fish. You can also sacrifice a token to draw a card, and also create a treasure token. Spendable Lackey. You can exile it from your graveyard to get a fish. An unblockable fish, for the record. Then the fishing pole. I'm going to go look at rulings. The ability granted by fishing poles, first ability, refers only to the fishing pole granting that ability, not any other permanent on the battlefield named fishing pole. Yeah, and there's nothing in this wording that says that the fishing pole has to be untapped. So that's just feels like just a really weird thing. But you know what? Let's go. Let's spell words correctly. Like, tapping the fishing pole doesn't seem to... doesn't actually seem to be important. Like, and Foundations is a relatively new set, so I don't... So does it not get bait if it's tapped? If it's already tapped? I don't know. Someone who knows more than me can answer that question. That is just weird to me, and my limited understanding of stuff. Exotic Pets is a 3-mana spell that gives you 2 unblockable fish. Beza can create us 2 fish that are entirely blockable if an opponent controls more creatures than us. We can also gain life and get a treasure token and draw a card if they have more relevant things than us. Fisher's Talent. At the beginning of your upkeep, look at the top card of your library. You may reveal it if it's a land card. And if it is a land card, you get a fish. And then you get to draw that card. And then you can level it up to get a shark instead of a fish. And then you can level it up again to get an octopus instead of a shark. Then there's a reef worm. It starts at an 01, but if it dies, you get a fish. And if the fish dies, you get a whale. And if the whale dies, you get a kraken. And then we have Reservoir Kraken, which at the beginning of each combat, any opponent may tap an untapped creature they control. If they do, tap the Kraken and you get a fish that can't be blocked. Sleep with the Fishes, enchant creature. When Sleep with the Fishes enter the battlefield, tap enchant creature and you create a fish that can't be blocked. And the enchanted creature does not untap. And then, so was that... Oh, that was all catch fish. Now we have find fishing spots. So Farseek can search for a plains, island, swamp, or mountain. Nature's Lore and 3 Visits can find forests, and none of those say basic, which is good. Then we have Side Quest, Catch a Fish. Such a time to have this deck exist. At the beginning of your upkeep, look at the top card of your library. If it's an artifact or creature card, you may reveal it and put it into your hand. If you put a card in your hand this way, create a food token and transform this enchantment. It's funny that this doesn't actually find fishing spots. But it's called Side Quest Catch a Fish. That's why it went in this section. Although I guess it is find a fishing spot because the backside is a land. That taps for white. Or you can pay 3, tap it, sacrifice an artifact to put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Use only as sorcery. That's a way to make our fish bigger, I guess. Eaten by piranhas. This section is called Fish and Adjacent. Flash, that's play at instant speed. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature loses all abilities and is a black skeleton creature with base power and toughness 1/1. It loses all other card types and creature types. So yeah, they were eaten by our fish. Red Herring. This is just multi-level and hilarious. It's a 2/2 with haste. It attacks each combative with a Hable. And it's a clue, even though it's a red herring. So you can still sacrifice it, pay 2 mana, sacrifice it, and draw a card. Aboleth's Spawn. It is a fish horror. Whenever a creature entering the battlefield... Oh, I like this creature. Whenever a creature entering the battlefield under an opponent's control causes a trigger ability to occur, we get a version. We get to do that ability too. Then we have Horseshoed Crab that can untap itself. So the Horseshoe Crab can go fishing, for what it's worth. Then we have Mana War. It's a jellyfish. When it enters the battlefield, something else returns to its hand because they're like, oh, dang, that's a Mana War. I better get out of here. Mystic Skyfish. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, it gains flying. I have no clue how often that's ever going to occur, but well, I mean, technically it'll gain flying at our end step, but that's not useful. Then we have Plagon, Lord of the Beach. When Plagon, Lord of the Beach enters, draw a card for each creature you control with toughness greater than its power. You know what? Our commander does have toughness greater than its power. So this isn't terrible. Target creature you control assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power. That's actually not terrible. And it's also a starfish wizard riding a turtle. Then we have good old Charix, a Leviathan crab. It's just a big boy. That we can also pay 3 to give it plus X minus X equal to the number of islands we control, which I don't even think there's a... No, there is a non-zero number of islands in this deck because we have triomes. But I don't think I have a single basic land in this entire deck. Just moving home, sitting. Okay, now that I'm looking through this deck again, I'm like, oh, I actually did way better than I thought I would. Tidal Barracuda. Any player may cast spells as though they had flash. Except your opponents can't cast spells during our turn. Man, no, I am actually in love with this deck now. Other than my confusion at how the fishing pole works, I actually like this stupid deck. Frost, Fair, Lure, Fish. When Frost, Fair, Lure, Fish enters the battlefield, we get two more fish. And 2 treasure. Fish we control have haste and can't be blocked by humans for what it's worth. And this is a 7/7 for 7 with Foretell, so we can cast it earlier. And this is Fishing Buddies. So we have a bait hook angler. It's just a human peasant who does the fish. He does the fishing. But he died. So he starts. I really do feel like that these things are reversed. I'd really want the ghost to be the 2/1, but whatever. Then we have Shapesharer. Oh, because in the picture he's going fishing. Net fishing in it looks like. Yeah. That's why he's in the deck. He is also fishing. Then we have Stony Brook Angler. You may tap or untap target creature. Then we have Grizzled Angler. Mill 2 cards. Then if there's a colorless creature card in your graveyard, you can transform them. I don't know if that'll ever happen. I'd probably want to make sure I had a colorless creature first. But the backside, we can pay 6 to make our opponent's attack. And it's also an angler fish. And then we have trawlers. See, they're doing net catching. When this creature enters, you may exile a creature card from your graveyard. When you do, return target instance or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. We'll see what instants and or graveyards we instants or sorcerers we have. I've seen 3. Then we have Kina, the Kugome. Whenever, if one or more tokens would be created under your control, you get a frog in addition. And frog gigging is a thing. That's where I guess you go. It's like spearfishing, but frogs specifically, and that's what she's doing. Then we have the Tempest Angler. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, they get a +1/+1 counter. We have a non-zero number of those, I guess. Cynet Jelly Drover. They're a human wizard, but when they enter, you get a jellyfish, and when they die, you get a jellyfish. And then our creatures with flying get +1/+1 for what it's worth. Not that our jellyfish. Oh no, our jellyfish do fly. So that's fine. Simic Ragworm. Is this a new section? Hold on. Nope. It's a fishing buddy because it can untap itself. I once caught a fish this big. That's why he's in the deck. That's my justification. Because there's always someone in these fishing buddy groups that tells you about the fish they caught or almost caught. And he has Vintage Vigilance, and whenever you cast a creature spell, draw a card, and then you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. He is technically way too good for this deck. And then you can pay 3, tap, return a creature you control to your hand. Technically, he's the best card in this deck. But this deck will squander his abilities. I think like one of the best things we can do is bounce Mana War back to our hands to play it again. Then we have Morphling because they can untap themselves. They can also give themselves flying. They can also give themselves Shroud. And they can also adjust their power and toughness. And then Soliton can untap themselves. And then I guess we're going. My land section I named Fishing Spots because this is where we can go to fish. An alpine meadow, the Arctic tree line, a breeding pool. I mean, there's got to be a bunch of fish in there. The command tower. This is like the fish hut, I guess. Commercial district. There's fish there. You're buying them or selling them, but there are fish there. Elegant parlor, glacial floodplain. Yeah, I don't need to justify every single one. But yeah, not a basic mount or basic land in here. Oh, and is this section just called ramp? Oh no, flying fishers, because they're birds, and that's what birds do. Birds also eat fish. So, Birds of Paradise, and the Gilded Goose. And then we got a core Skyfisher. When it enters the battlefield, return a permanent we control to its owner's hand. Then the River Hoopoe. Boy, it has a really expensive activated ability to pay 5 to gain 2 life and draw a card. But it's a bird. And it's by a river, so I'd assume it eats fish. The Sea Eagle. It's a flying 1/1 for 2. It's not even a flying min. It's an objectively bad card. Ithilien Kingfisher. When it dies, draw a card. Vexing Gull, flash flying. Avon Fisher, when it dies, you may draw a card. Kingfisher, when it dies, you draw a card. Night Fisher. When another non-token bird you control enters, you get a fish. Pileated Provisioner. When it enters, you put a +1/+1 counter on a creature you control that doesn't have flying. Quicksilver Fisher. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card, then discard a card. Into the Floodmaw. Oh, this is give a man a fish. Because everything in this section has give a tapped fish on it. Return target creature to its an opponent controls to its owner's hand. If the gift was promised, instead return target non-land permanent to an opponent controls their hand. Longstalk Brawl. Give a tap fish. Choose target creature you control and target creature you don't control. Put a +1/+1 counter on the creature you control. If the gift was promised, then those two fight each other. Parting Gust. You've seen me put this in a lot of decks. Give a fish. Exile a creature. And if it wasn't, and if you did not promise the fish, the creature comes back with a +1/+1 counter at the beginning of the next end step. This one, you discard a card, and then target player draws 2 cards, and then if you promise the gift, you also can get +2/+0 on a creature you control. Enchanted creature loses all abilities and turns into an 0/1 fish. We're still giving them a fish, it's just different, and also made me a liar because I said everything was gift a fish. No, you're giving them a fish in some way or another. Starforged Sword. When it enters, if the gift was promised, you automatically equip to something and then get +3/+3 and loses flying. Mind Spiral gives a fish. Target player draws 3 cards. If the gift was promised, tap target creature and opponent's controls and put a stun counter on it. This must be a new section. Oh, where's my fishing pole? The fishing pole is a 1-mana artifact. So this is five things that can tutor up the fishing pole. So it can make colorless mana. We get a colorless 0/0 construct that gets +1/+1 for each artifact we control. So it's always a 1/1 because it is itself an artifact. And then on its 3rd chapter, it can search for a artifact with mana value 0 or 1, which is literally just the fishing pole. There is nothing else it's finding. Like, there's not even an artifact land for the 0. So that's mildly funny. Then the Game Changer, Enlightened Tutor. I think in the Rule 0 conversation I'll be like, I have exactly 1 Game Changer in this deck. I still think it's bracket 1 because its whole job is to find the fishing pole. Search your library for an artifact or enchantment card, reveal it, then shuffle and put that card on top. So you do that before your own draw step. Fabricate is the more expensive version of that, and it's a sorcery. Trinket Mage can also find it. And Delivery Moogle will also find it. Does Delivery Moogle have other hits? No. I think this is the only artifact in the entire deck. Like, the Enlightened Tutor can find other stuff. Fabricate doesn't even have other hits because it doesn't look like I have any other artifacts. Oh wait, nope. Red Herring. So the Delivery Moogle can find this fish, and so can Enlightened Tutor can also find this side quest, or the lure, or some of these other things. But but so much only has that one hit. And that's this deck. Man, this deck is dumb as heck. Mostly blue, but that's because we are in fact going fishing. As you can see, Final Fantasy was well and out, and I don't think there's anything from Edge of Eternities that I would put in this deck. I think... Well, no, I think I still would leave these things that untap themselves just so I get the fish right away. Even if, like, paying this, tap the fish, and even if this somehow doesn't add more bait counters, I think I'd still rather get the fish right away, even if I have to wait till my next turn to do it again. I'd rather have my creatures untapped. The original name of this deck was Mono Black Assassins, with Mono Black in quotation marks, but then I'm like, wait a minute, this dude's from the Assassin's Creed set, so let's just say Assassin's Creed. What are the errors? Oh, I put a card that doesn't that isn't out yet. Okay, that's fair. We'll get to it when we get to it. So it's Ezio Auditore da Firenze. I don't care if I pronounce that correctly. It is 1 and a black for a 3/2 human assassin with menace. Assassin spells you cast have free running for 2 black. You may cast a spell for its free running cost if you dealt combat damage to a player this turn with an assassin or commander. Oh, hey, look. He is both an assassin and our commander. Whenever this particular Ezio deals combat damage to a player, you may pay white, blue, black, red, green if that player has 10 or less life. If you do, that player loses the game. So you're basically, yeah, it's like you're fast forwarding their last 10 life. And then we have the rope, which this has great synergy with menace, because menace says that you must be blocked with 2 or more creatures. Rope says they can only be blocked by 1 creature, and so both of those things work in tandem to mean you cannot be blocked at all. And then in a pinch we can sacrifice it to draw a rope because it's a clue, because it's from the clue set. Then we got the Shadow Spear to remove hexproof and indestructible, and also the Trample and Lifelink doesn't hurt. Brotherhood Regalia to make unblockable, just flat. Mirror Shield so we don't have to worry about Death Touch. Prowler's Helm so we don't have to worry about anything but walls. Unblockable, hexproof. He does have power 3, so that is power 3 or less, so he's unblockable because of Thieves' Tools. As long as he doesn't have any other equipment on him, of course. Trample and can't be blocked by more than 1 creature. Can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. But also makes him a 7/7, so that also, makes him a commander damage threat. Also means that the Thieves' Tools don't work for him anymore. Hexproof, indestructible, unblockable and shroud, indestructible and free equips, and the +2/+0 that I usually don't bother mentioning. Helm of the Host just to make more of them because that's funny. Or make more of another one because there are other creatures in this set. This makes a wolf, but it also has the can't be blocked by more than 1 creature. That's important. Okay, so what's the name of this section? Oh, this is the guild. So it's gear, guild, land, ramp, and I don't have a removal section. Nope. I didn't care enough. So 18 pieces of gear, 30 creatures, 31 including our commander, 37 lands, 14 pieces of ramp, which some of them... Nope, one of them is a creature. So let's see what we got here. Boy, not having removal almost makes me want to say it's a bracket 1. But since we have a commander that we can make unblockable and can cast stuff with alternate mana costs. Oh, it's actually going to be mildly funny when we get to the land. I'll probably do that. So whenever this guy or another non-token historic permanent enters the battlefield under your control, deals 1 damage to each opponent, and we gain 1 life. So artifacts, legendaries, and sagas are historic. Bazam Ibn Ishaq. Whenever you cast a historic spell, draw a card, then this guy can't be blocked this turn. And when he deals combat damage to a player, he gets a +1/+1 counter. Brotherhood Spy. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control a legendary assassin, it gets +1/+0 and can't be blocked. Equipment costs 1 less, and equip costs 1 less. That's handy, thank you very much. Desmond Miles. +1/+0 for each other assassin you control, and each one that's in your graveyard. And then when he attacks, you surveil X, which is X the damage you dealt to the player. Poison Blade Mentor. Whenever it attacks, another targeted assassin you control gains Death Touch until end of turn. Razorkin Needlehead. It has first strike during your turn, but also when an opponent draws a card, this deals 1 damage to them. So that's neat. Altair Ibn Lahad. First strike, whenever they attack, exile up to 1 target assassin creature from your graveyard with a memory counter on it. Then for each creature card you own in exile with a memory counter on it, you make a tapped and attacking token that's a copy of it, and then you exile them at the end of combat. So this guy is actually kind of cool for his own commander, because the memory counters means that they never forget. I know that's kind of a pun, but I also meant there's other things that put counters on stuff in exile, so it doesn't matter if the creature dies. When they come back, they only care about the counters, not who put the counters on it. Jacob Fry. It partners with Evie Fry. Whenever one or more assassins you control do combat damage to a player, exile up to 1 target assassin card or card with free running from your graveyard. If you do copy it, you may cast the copy. These are in... That's right, these are in mana value order, and she is the more expensive one. Lydia Fry, it's a whole family. Can't be blocked by creatures with power 3 or greater. At the beginning of your end step, surveil X, where X is the number of tapped assassins you control. Remember to, since I didn't say it the last time I said surveil, surveil is to look at the top however many cards of your library, and for each of those cards, you can either put it back on top of your library, or put it in your graveyard. You can also change the order of their order on the top of your library. Yeah. Mari the Killing Quill. I like an excuse to have her in a deck. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, exile it with a hit counter on it. That's the part I like. Assassins, mercenaries, and rogues you control have Death Touch, and whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, you may remove a hit counter from a card that player owns in exile. If you do, draw a card and create 2 treasure tokens. Blah-ba-doop-a-doo, ba-ba-deeb. Raton Haketon. There's a colon in there, and I'm not entirely sure how that affects the pronunciation. As long as this guy hasn't dealt damage yet, it has hexproof and can't be blocked. So it gets 1 free attack. And can only be taken out by board wipes. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you get a 1/1 assassin with menace, and then when you do, you can return the equipment from your graveyard to the battlefield and attach to the token, so that's neat. Ruthless Lawbringer. This is a guy that I really need to remember to put in more decks. It's a vampire assassin that when it enters, you can sacrifice another creature to destroy target non-land permanent, and he only costs 3. Sure, it's sorcery speed, but it's a creature, and yeah, you just have to have a creature willing to sacrifice. Shadow, mysterious assassin. It has death touch, and whenever Shadow deals combat damage to a player, you may sacrifice another non-land permanent. If you do, draw 2 cards, and each opponent loses life equal to the mana value of the sacrificed permanent. Also, I noticed I didn't have... No, I did have a ramp section. I'm dumb as heck and forgetting myself. Sacrifice another non-land permanent. If you do, draw 2 cards, and each opponent loses life equal to the mana value of the sacrificed permanent. Okay, that's pretty cool. I don't think we have a whole lot of expensive stuff, but that is definitely a way to get people's life totals down. Speaking of, Unstoppable Slasher, Death Touch. Whenever Unstoppable Slasher deals combat damage to a player, they lose half their life rounded up. When Unstoppable Slasher dies, if it had no counters on it, and notice that says no counters. That means can't have +1/+1 counters on it, can't have any types of counters. Return to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control with 2 stun counters on it. So it ain't getting back up for a while. Vincent, Vengeful Atoner. Menace. Whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, put a +1/+1 counter on Vincent. And then whenever Vincent deals combat damage to an opponent, it deals that much damage to each other opponent if his power is 7 or greater. Achilles Davenport. It has free running. Just in case our commander isn't out. Also has Menace. And also gives our other assassins +1/+1. Arno Dorian. Other Death Touch. Other assassins get +2/+0. And then also has Disguise, which means you can play it face down as a 2/2 creature for 3, and then turn it face up for a black and a red. I'd probably rather just wait the turn. Aya of Alexandria, Menace and Lifelink. Whenever a historic creature you control deals combat damage to a player, we get an assassin with Menace. That's nice. I just realized we have so many legendary permanents. That's why it's a guild. First Strike, whenever Layla Hassan enters the battlefield, and whenever one or more assassins you control deal combat damage to a player, return target historic card from your graveyard to your hand. That's certainly a lot better than some of the other recursion that was in this deck so far. Because I'd rather get them back in my hand than exile them. Oh, hey, Massacre Girl, Gnome Killer. Menace. Creatures you control have Wither, which means they deal damage to creatures in the form of -1/-1 counters. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, if its toughness was less than 1, draw a card. Olivia, Opulent Outlaw. I'm so happy that her creature type is Assassin. Whenever one or more assassins you control deal combat damage to a player, create a treasure token. Sacrifice 2 treasures to put 2/+1/+1 counters on each creature control. Queen Marchesa is an assassin. Putting this deck together was kind of a joy. When Queen Marchesa enters the battlefield, you become the monarch. I forgot that I was sitting on a towel. Because of sweat. At the beginning of your upkeep, if an opponent is a monarch, we get an assassin with Death Touch and Haste. Ramses, Assassin Lord. Death Touch, other assassins get +1/+1. And whenever a player loses the game, if they were attacked this turn by assassin you control, you win the game. This could also be a commander, but I kind of wanted to make the five color monocolor deck. Bayek of Siwa, as long as it's your turn, other historic creatures you control have double strike. That is sweet as heck. Also has the disguise feature, which doesn't matter. It itself has double strike. Edward Kenway. At the beginning of your end step, create a treasure token for each tapped assassin, pirate, and or vehicle you control. Oh, neat. Whenever a vehicle you control... Oh, okay, that doesn't matter. Because I don't have any vehicles in this deck, which is good, because this looks like theft. Ivor, battle ready. Vigilance, haste, and whenever Ivor battle ready attacks, it deals damage equal to the number of equipment you control to each opponent. We have a non-zero number. Did I miss the sister, or... There's Jacob Fry. Hold on. Yeah, she's not in the deck. Huh. Well, I'm going to leave that right there, just in case I change my mind. Because I could take out the Brotherhood Spy. Maybe because I didn't want to draw a card and discard a card. I'm going to be very honest. Yeah, let's dump the Brotherhood Spy. Because it's only like we have a lot of legendary assassins for this to trigger, but it's only 2 unblockable damage. So you go away, and then she is a 2/1 that can tutor up Jacob or be tutored up by Jacob. And we have pay 1, tap, draw a card, and discard a card. If you discard a creature card, target creature you control can't be blocked this turn. There we go. And now where was I? Let's see, I just read Evior, right? Yep. We have 18 equipment, and even then, even if we only have a couple of pieces of equipment out, I still feel like that's a good effect. Ezio, Blade of Vengeance, Death Touch, and whenever an assassin you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Lord of Pain is also an assassin, as it turns out. Your opponents can't gain life, and whenever a player casts their first spell each turn, choose another target player. So you can't target the person who cast the spell. Lord of Pain deals damage equal to that spell's mana value to the chosen player. Calidus Assassin. This is from 40k. Flash. You may have it enter the battlefield tapped as a copy of any creature on the battlefield, except it has, when this creature enters the battlefield, destroy up to one other target creature with the same name as this creature. So the funny thing is that it is an assassin in your hand and an assassin on the stack, but probably not an assassin on the battlefield. But that's fine. Then we have the land. Let's see. I'm going to go through them mildly slow, and let's see if we can pick up the theme. technically this one breaks the theme until you have 6 lands in play. Did you pick it up? Every land taps for black. There is, other than the world tree, when you have less than 6 lands in play, all of the lands will tap for black. And some other stuff. That is because of the free running cost on our commander. So I always want to make sure that we can do the free running. Then we have a ramp. We have our soul ring that you can pry from my cold dead hands. Arcane Signet, Charcoal Diamond, Dimir Signet, Golgari Signet, Orzhov Signet, Rakdos Signet, Talisman of Dominance, Talisman of Hierarchy, Talisman of Indulgence, Talisman of Resilience. I even only picked the ramp that added black. That's wild. So the Soul Stone, it taps for black, but also, if we're willing to exile something permanently, we can return creatures from our graveyard to the battlefield, which is cool because we have 30 creatures. Then we have the one, I believe, non-assassin, never an assassin creature in the deck because it can tap for Wooburg, and the Timeless Lotus can also tap for Wooburg because we want to be able to tap for Wooburg at any point in time. So yeah, that's that deck. The funny thing is that I guess the Calidus Assassin is the thing that I am most likely to sacrifice for the Soul Stone, or the Poison Blade Mentor, I guess, or perhaps the Unstoppable Slasher if it was currently tapped and with stun counters on it. It's also funny that Gigantha has to be hard cast because he's not an assassin, so it can't be free run. You can call this deck dumb if you want, I like it. I think I've said before I'm not a big fan of 5-color deck because people usually just put together good stuff piles. And this is just a pile of all of the assassins, for what it's worth. Then we have Estark's Favorite Son. I built a more serious version of this than I was going to, because what I wanted to do was put all of his canon spells in the deck, which you can look up on the Magic the Gathering wiki. The problem is that those cards suck so much that trying to get all of them in the deck sucked all the joy out of my soul. So, this is me trying to build a serious deck. I even have that stupid ugly baby in it. But without making it too broken. But it is kind of a good stuff pile. So, let's go for it. Garth One Eye, costs Wooburg, is a 5/5 human wizard. Tap. Choose a card name that hasn't been chosen from among Disenchant, Brain Geyser, Terror, Shivan Dragon, Regrowth, and Black Lotus. Create a copy of the card of the chosen name. You may cast the copy. You still pay at cost. I think that all will be down here. In extras? Nope. That's funny. It really should. Those are... So, Disenchant is 1 and a white, destroy... 1 and a white instant, destroy target artifact or enchantment. Brain Geyser, I believe, is a sorcery. I could be wrong. But it's X and blue, target player draws X cards. Terror is, I believe, 1 and a black, destroy target non-black, non-artifact creature. Shivan Dragon costs 4 black, is a flying, I think it's a 5/5, and it has fire breathing, if I'm not mistaken. Regrowth is 1 and a green, return a card from your graveyard to your hand. And Black Lotus is a 0 mana artifact that you can sacrifice for 3 mana of any one color. Next up, we have the Serema. When it enters, search your library for a legendary creature card, reveal it, put it in your hand, and shuffle. If we look really quick, it is here to... Oh, no, there's one... I'm not going to point them all out, but it can find 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It said creature, right? 8. 9. 10. 11, 12. It has 12 hits in this deck. So when it enters the battlefield, it can find one of 12 things. Then it also has Station, which means you can tap another creature you control to put a charge counter equal to its power. Charge counters equal to its power onto the spacecraft, and it becomes a creature when it has at least 7 counters on it. When it is a creature, it is a 5/5 flyer with other tapped legendary creatures you control have indestructible. Then we have Archetype of Imagination. It's creatures we control have flying. Creatures our opponents control do not have flying. And will never have flying. Then we have Sun Kwang, Lord of Wu. Creatures we control have horsemanship, which means they cannot be blocked except by creatures with horsemanship. Not even things with flying, not even things with reach, not even things with shadow. Nothing. They have to have horsemanship. This is a ridiculously overpowered ability for a set that was originally only released in China. Akroma's Memorial. Creatures we control have flying, first strike, vigilance, trample, haste, and protection from black and from red. Archetype of Endurance. Creatures we control, we have hexproof. Creatures our opponents control cannot have hexproof. And then here's the broken part of the deck. Because remember, Garth technically can only use his ability 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times, because then he has used up cards that haven't been chosen. But this section is full of stuff that goes, oh, exile and then return. So that's the short version of what these things do. When this attacks, exile up to other one target non-land permanent. At the beginning of the next end step, return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control. If it entered under our control, Felia gets a +1/+1 counter. Far Traveler says, at the beginning of your end step, exile up to one target tapped creature you control and return it. So, booyah. When this attacks, while saddled, at end of combat, exile it and up to one target under one creature that saddled it this turn, return it to the battlefield under their owner's control. So, say we've used up all of our Garth abilities, but we don't have anything else, any other way to bounce them, we can use Fortune. Brago, when he attacks, or no, when he deals combat damage to a player, we can exile any number of target non-land permanents we control to return them to the battlefield. Displacer Kitten, blinks when we cast a non-creature spell. Emiel the Blessed. We can pay 3 to blink. And then we can also put +1/+1 counters on things when they come into the battlefield under control. And if they're a unicorn, they get 2, but that ain't gonna happen. OG, the Exquisite Blade. Whenever we cast our second spell each turn, we blink something. Teleportation Circle will blink a thing at our end step. Thassa Deep Dwelling is the same thing, but it's a creature sometimes. Conjurer's Closet is the same thing, but it can also... Oh no. The Teleportation Circle can do artifacts. This can only do creatures. Nahiri's Resolve is the same thing, but it's in a different color. But they have to be non-token, so you can't accidentally or on purpose permanently exile a token. But they don't return till your next upkeep, which is mildly interesting. Which means if you don't have haste enablers, they can't activate that turn. Oh wait, no. This gives haste. So this is weird. It just... You know what? This makes it better because it protects them in exile from your opponent's board wipes. So that's cool. Y'shtola Rule gives us an additional end step so we can do more bouncing with our other things. Sewers of Estark. Estark is the city that the very first Magic the Gathering book takes place in. And these are the sewers they're in. If target creature is attacking, it cannot be blocked until end of turn. Play before blockers are chosen. If target creature is blocking, it and all creatures it blocks do no combat damage. And it costs 2 black. This is an overpriced card, but it is in the deck because it's Estark. Just because it's the city that Garth is from. Joinar Adept fixes our mana. Prismatic Omen fixes our mana. Chromatic Lantern fixes our mana. Dryad of the Elysian Grove fixes our mana and lets us play extra lands. Dune Chanter fixes our mana. Also makes all of our lands desert for no reason. We can also mill cards if we really wanted to. Renin Realmbreaker fixes our mana and does other things that is really not important. Leyline of the Guild Pact also fixes our mana, and we can play it for free if it's in our opening hand. Half of this fixes our mana, and the other half will never happen because, you know, I don't like milling cards. Mirror Shield to protect our commander. This is the protect our commander section, or other things. It's not as deep as some other ones. This is the haste enabler section. Haste until end of turn. Other creatures you control have haste, but we can also cheat things out with warp, which means they come into play and then leave into exile, and then we can cast them from exile for their full at their full mana cost. Urabrask gives us haste and creatures opponents control into the battlefield tap, which may or may not matter. And then this is the Kaleidoscope section. This is making sure we have the Wooburg to cast our commander. But also we have all of these lands that either tap for one of 3 colors or tap for all 5 colors, with maybe some caveats. Like Paying Life. Oh, now we have our ramp section. The Farseek, the Nature's Lord, the 3 Visits, and Overlord of the Hauntwoods to make the everything land. or the Everywhere land, that's every basic land type, which means it can tap for all 5 colors. Then our removal section, which I don't, it's that's destroy target permanent, but everything else I think is exile. Like, we even have the sorcery speed one. Cityscape Leveler. The Battleship. And Bahamut. Really quick, I noticed that I don't have any, like, other than Terra Sunder, I don't have any of the black-green ones. But I have Anguished Unmaking. Was I just really that paranoid about colors? Like, the Extinguisher Battleship doesn't even hit creatures. But it can turn into a flying, trampling 10/10. So I guess I'm fine with this. It's just a weird choice that I didn't go with, like, Atomize and all that, and Utter End. I went for things that were way more expensive. Then we have Loot the Pathfinder, aka the Ugly Baby. It has Double Strike, Vigilance, and Haste, which is... And then, so exhaust abilities can only be used once. That's where blinking is important. So, green and tap, 3 mana of any one color. Blue and tap, draw 3 cards. Red and tap, Lightning Bolt. Untap legendary permanent. Including itself, if you've ever felt that mattered, because it doesn't say another. Untap another permanent. You know, that's blue and green. This could have gone... If I was really worried about that fishing thing, this should go in the fishing deck. Because one, Kiora is a fishing-related planeswalker. Well, she's not a planeswalker anymore, but, you know. She is, like, water-related. She's like a merfolk, I think. So this could go in that, and then if we really needed to untap the fishing pole for it to work, we can at least do it once. Oh, and then we could put Freed from the Real on this. Yeah, there we go. If anyone watching this knows if the fishing pole being tapped matters, put it in the comments. I'll eventually see it, and then I will put Kiora's Follower in the deck instead of, I think, that one worm that was in Fishing Buddies, because that was honestly kind of weird. Seeker Spike, Skybreak untaps a creature. Sting untaps a creature at the beginning of each combat. So, like, if I want to space out my usings of Garth, this can untap 2 legends. This can untap a legend, but also tap for mana. So there we go. You know what? Just to be safe, I think I'm going to put Kiora's Follower in that other deck. Let's see if I can get to it from up here. There it is. Gone Fishing. Instead of the Simic Ragworm, we'll put in Kiora's Follower. she also untaps permanents. So, the forensic researcher also untaps another target permanent we control. Although for, I think, the Kelpie Guide, so we can have, they all cost 3, all these other ones. That's why Eorth of the Healing House is better. So anyway, they're going to be, so that, yeah, you're in ramp, but no, you go over here, and you're in untap. So we can either untap a permanent or legendary creatures. She's a 1/4 too, that's also pretty good. Let's see, so that means we're at 101. So we're going to get rid of this. Do we have anything else that can still untap itself? Well, I guess at that point we do need Freed from the Real. Yeah, so our errors are, we have a bunch of non-land tutors and a game changer. Oh wait, the horseshoe crab does the fishing. There we go. Because I do want to get rid of Morphling as well. So we're down to 99. So do we want the Vizier of Tumbling Sands, the Kelpie Guide, or the Forensics Researcher? I would rather have the Kelpie Guide, simply because the Kelpie, well, a Kelpie is like this water horse thing. So there we go. Like, Eorth of the Healing House is, you should always have someone that knows first aid. That's, no matter what you're doing, where you're going, and how did I hurt my foot this time. But yeah, whenever you're no matter where you're going, what you're doing, bring someone who knows first aid. There we go. This deck just got mildly better. And then we can go back to Estark's Favorite Son and pick up where I left off, which was probably almost done anyway. We did that. We did that. Oh yeah, no, we were done, weren't we? Yeah. So we go here. We go here, Patriarch Seal. Yep, so yeah, no, I like this deck. I have one almost absolutely worthless card in this deck, and I don't care. How does this deck win? It plays mostly fair magic, even when it's playing unfair magic. Because, like, we're cheating loot and Garth, but, like, what degenerate stuff are we doing, really? Creating 3 Black Lotuses so we can summon Bahamut. Whatever. Did I spell that right? S Tark. Not to be confused with Esturk from Dragon Quest. So now we are in on a deck that, if it wasn't for my very specific self restriction, would just be a good stuff pile. Because it's SpongeBob SquarePants, aka Jodah the Unifier, which is just an obnoxious commander that nobody likes. Legendary creatures you control get +X/+X, where X is the number of legendary creatures you control. Whenever you cast a legendary spell from your hand, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a legendary non-land card with a lesser mana value. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost. Put the rest at the bottom of your library in a random order. And then next, we have Bikini Bottom. So it's everything else from the SpongeBob SquarePants Secret Lair. So we got the SpongeBob's House Command Tower. We got the most basic lands I've ever put in a 5-color deck, because it's the Forest. The other ones are going to be in here. There's Patrick with Inevitable Betrayal. I know it's a theft card and I don't like them, but it's in the deck because it's Patrick. Then we got the Island. We got the Mountain. We got the Plains. We got the Swamp. Plankton is Skrelv Deflector Might. Toxic 1, because Plankton's toxic. I think actual Plankton can be toxic, but Plankton the character definitely is. He can't block because he's too small, and then he can give protection from a color. Counterspell. I normally don't like putting counterspells in, but at least it's basic counterspell. And I put in this version because the meme version is hard to... I don't like the text on it. Then we have Daze, which is really difficult to look at, so look away while I read it. You may return an island you control to its owner's hand rather than pay the spell's mana cost. This is a second counter spell in this deck. Counter target spell unless its controller pays 1. It's an absolute garbage card. Knight's Whisper, draw 2 cards and lose 2 life. Force of Despair. If it's not your turn, you may exile a black card from your hand rather than pay the spell's mana cost. Destroy all creatures that enter the battlefield this turn. That's funny. Squidward as... Oh boy, I don't... Even if I could see that, I'd probably... but it's whenever a creature you control becomes blocked, you return it to your hand. Whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to player, draw a card. And I did not press a useful button. Mr. Krabs as Charik, so he's got the big old booty. Sandy Cheeks as Toski, so can't be countered, indestructible, attacks all the time. And whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Gary the Snail as Toxtro the Corrosive. That is funny. At the beginning of each instep, not just ours. Jeez, this thing is worse in Commander than it is in 1v1. Ugh. Put a slime counter on each creature you don't control. Creatures you don't control with slime counters get -1/-1 for each slime counter on them. Whenever a creature you don't control with a slime counter on it dies, you get a slug. Then you can sacrifice the slug to draw a card. Patrick Star, Barktooth Warbeard. I don't get it. The original was a vanilla as well. Some people have complained that Barktooth Warbeard's flavor text is like the exact opposite of this because it made him sound smart, but whatever. Then we have Wrecking Ball Arm to make SpongeBob or some other creature a base 7/7. Super State to make it a base 9/9, flying, first strike, trample, and haste. Go-Go to double triggered abilities, which I believe means, well, not double, but like copy X times, which, yeah, the Cascade is a trigger. And then Go-Go Go-Go copying SpongeBob. So you get plus X twice. Gandalf the White to double triggers again. And also cast legendary spells and artifacts as though you had flash. Ban the Returner's Leader, so you can, once per turn, you can cast a creature spell from your graveyard that were put there from anywhere other than the battlefield this turn. And whenever you attack, you may pay 1 to discard a card if you do draw a card, and that's basically the one that you're trying to cast, the one that you discarded. Mare of Galadriel, scry 1, draw a card. It's normally 5, but if you have 5 legendary creatures, you just tap it to do that. Cleopatra, exiled Pharaoh. At the beginning of your end step, put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 other target legendary creatures. Whenever a legendary creature with counters on it dies, oh well, it doesn't even have to be one that you control. Draw a card for each counter on it. You lose 2 life. That's neat. Exile the top card of your library until your next end step. You can play it, so you know. Be careful with that. Razalon, the War President. At the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 2 life and exile the top card of your library. You may play that card for as long as it remains exiled. And then non-creature spells you cast from exile have Conspire, which means you can tap 2 creatures to copy the spell. The 2 creatures that you tapped have to be untapped. Lightning, Army of 1. She has First Strike, Trample, and Lifelink. And when she deals damage to something, to a player, or a permanent, so I was right the first time. When she deals damage to anything, until the beginning of your next turn, anything else that deals damage or that deals double damage. Alistair, the Brigadier. Whenever you cast a historic spell, you get a soldier. Whenever this creature attacks, you can pay 8. And to have creatures you control get +X till end of turn, where X is the number of historic permanents you control. Aragorn does stuff whenever you cast spells with specific colors. You get a soldier if the spell was white. You scry 2 if it was blue. You bolt an opponent if it was red, and a creature gets +4/+4 if the spell was green. If a spell is multiple colors, it gets all of those things. It gets all the things that it's the colors of. This can cause us to win the game, or does it cause a person to lose the game? When the chosen player loses the game, we win the game. That's what that does. Displaced dinosaurs, like one of the few non-legendary permanents. All historic permanents enter the battlefield. As a historic permanent enters the battlefield under your control, it becomes a 7/7 dinosaur, in addition to its other types. Artifacts, legendaries, and sagas are historic. This is the thing where it costs 1 less to cast for each historic card in our graveyard. And then if we exile total mana value 30 of historic cards from our graveyard, creatures we control are 9/9s. This is another, this is the lands again. Looks like I didn't do cheap. Oh yeah, no, I didn't do cheapest for this deck because I was doing very specific printings. Laura Croft with her spear. The canine. Oh, it's Shadow Spear again for the record. Removes hexproof and indestructible. Gives +1/+1 trample and lifelink. Legendary creatures. Other legendary creatures we control have Ward 1. And then we can also, as long as this is untapped, that happens. And then we can pay a 1 and a blue tap and make it a legendary creature unblockable, which is very important when SpongeBob can just punch someone into another universe. Then we have the boots, and the greaves, and this champion's helm, and this dark steel plate, and this mithril coat, and the Pico Pico hammer, and then absolute virtue. This spell can't be countered, has flying, and you have protection from each of your opponents, which means you cannot be dealt damage, enchanted, or targeted by anything controlled by your opponents. Which means I think, yeah, your opponents have to get rid of this nonsense first. And it's a flying 8/8, but it itself doesn't have protection from anything, which is funny. The diamond weapon is immune to combat damage, and is cheaper for the number of permanent cards in our graveyard. Then we have the soul ring, an arcane signet, Bugenhagen, the Wise Elder. He's a mana dork, but also if we control a creature with power 7 or greater, which, if SpongeBob is on the field and this guy's on the field, SpongeBob will have 7 power. So at the beginning of our upkeep, if we control a creature with power 7 or greater, draw a card. Lotho gives us a treasure and pings us for a life whenever our player casts their second spell each turn. Nature's Lore grabs a land. That's Farseek and a clever disguise grabs a land. The ball is Felwar Stone, so we can make mana as long as opponents have land in play. This is 3 visits in a trench coat. Bilbo, retired burglar. When it deals combat damage to a player, we create treasure. And also, when it enters or leaves, it attacks, or it gives us the ring tempting. And the first one's all we need, because that gives us Skulk. The second one is when your ring bearer attacks, you draw a card and discard a card. The third one is whenever our ring bearer is blocked, anything that blocked it gets sacrificed later. And the fourth one is when our ring bearer deals combat damage to a player, they lose 3 life. Black Market Connections, it's also a non-legendary permanent, but it can get us a treasure, maybe draw us a card, and if we really need it, create a shapeshifter with Changeling. Then we have Serapharon, which on the front side, legendary creatures cost 2 less, and then if we control 2 or more other legendary creatures, we turn it over, and it keeps that mana discount, but also double anthems are legendaries, +2/+2. This lets us play historical lands and cast historic spells from the top of our library. Knuckles gives us treasures when our creatures deal combat damage to opponents, and if we control 30 or more artifacts during our upkeep, we win. Berserk is a removal piece I sometimes forget to put in decks that have green, because it's funny, because it also doubles their power. Then we got Path to Exile over here, Swords, Assassin's Trophy again, Anguished Unmaking, Beast Within, Generous Gift, Memories of Nibelheim, which is actually Stroke of Midnight, Void Rend, Atomize, Utter End, Ultima Weapon. In case you didn't notice, the very specific restriction, other than for lands, because that would have been obnoxious, is that they all had to be Universes Beyond cards, except for my land base. Very specifically, except for my land base. Everything is a Universe is Beyond card. And that's SpongeBob SquarePants. And then I had all the Bikini Bottom cards. I could have grouped everything by where they were from, but I didn't feel like it. I just left everything else as their default tags. And that is it. It's an hour and a half. That's a little shorter than I like, but it's longer than I would be really unhappy with. This is where in a lot of videos I would say what the next one was, but this was the last color pickup one. Last color challenge pickup one. So next week is whatever I feel like doing. I could try to fill up another half hour, but to be honest, I don't have anything that I'd want to. Anything I'd want to do would take longer than a half an hour. And I don't want to tip my hand and say what I haven't have not recorded yet. Like, you know when I recorded it, because it's Spider-Man hasn't been released yet. You can't tell from this deck. But it was, yeah, the Assassin's Creed deck. And then I have nothing here, because I believe everything is in here. Yep. Well, not quite everything's in here. That was kind of odd. The decks I just closed really should have been in here, because they're not over here. Anyway, whatever I do next week, I'll see you then. I'm going to figure out where those decks went off to.